live. Welcome to part 6 of the Soul System Structure Series. So, part 6. Okay, so in the previous video, we spoke about inner union, and we also spoke about the relationship between your inner masculine and inner femininity. And I feel called to expand more on that. I kind of rushed through that. And I know in the spiritual, a lot of people have conflicting opinions about what femininity and masculine energy is. And it's a lot of performance. It's a lot of embodying femininity and masculinity to get something instead of actually accepting it as who you truly are, accepting this inner union. And I think of the twin flame I don't even know what to call it. So when I was waking up, right, and I share about this vision about this guy that I saw as I was praying for a honey. And in that moment in time, I had no reason to be praying for a honey, manifesting a honey, because my life was compared to my life right now, it's like dark and white, right? It's black and white. And I'm using that as an archetype of negative and positive, not as in race or whatever you're thinking. We're not talking about this from the distorted lens, right? We're going to be talking more about this in this video, because it's all part of the collective shadow. But it was when I had a lot of emotional chaos, and I was creating from emotional chaos. I wasn't channeling the emotional chaos into creative command, right? Which is where we're taking you through this series. And the twin flame movement that's going on, it's coming from the distorted lens, the lens that you are not whole, that you need something and someone outside of you to make you whole, to make you feel the void within yourself, instead of actually awakening to giving yourself all these emotional needs you weren't given in your childhood. So the twin flame is all about mirroring the emotional needs you were never received as a child, and we're projecting onto this one person, the ultimate person, right? We're projecting through our fantasies, through all these stories that romance novels and Disney, kind of programmed us to believe it's meant to come from the one, right? From our true love. So always living life romantically and emotionally to waiting for this one ultimate person to fill the void. And that's when you start realizing, because in my spare time, I just find it interesting to read comments and study what frequency people are responding from. And a lot of disgruntled people were like, oh yeah, true love doesn't exist, oh that's a lie, whatever. It's coming from pain, from disappointment. It's coming from them manifesting the person and basing all the information on that one experience and looking for proof of why that one negative experience happened. It's not coming from neutrality, from realizing like, hey, I had this experience, I wonder why I had this experience. Do I want this experience? No. How can I transform my identity and create something different? No, it's coming from the really inside the stories, and they're really identifying with it to the point where like they believe this is the only truth. And we all know, right, that truth is what you make it. It's coming from perception. It's coming from belief systems. It's coming from your DNA, information your ancestors collected, right? So it's coming from all the stuff, from the things you collect on social media, from your subconscious programming. But for you to become an empowered creator, co-creator with the universe, with life, you want to be aware of all this information that could be working against your soul blueprint, right? That could be working against your divine blueprint. because in that way you become empowered. Now you're living life each moment more intentionally. You're not becoming a victim to it. You're actually seeing it as information to help you pivot so that you can actually create more impact through your current embodiment. It's not coming from a projected idea of yourself, from your future self. It's coming from who you're being in each moment. Because who you're being in each moment is actually unifying all the versions of yourself in this lifetime, past life, in this lifetime and in previous lifetimes, unifying through this one body, through your voice, through your senses, through your expression. And that's how you experience God, through this expanded version of you, your expansive consciousness. And this is what we're truly seeking when you're seeking God, when we're seeking freedom, we're seeking this feeling. And I'm showing you how to reach this feeling consistently on a daily basis as you're living your life, and doing the inner work and restructuring your life to support this. Because if your life and the structures you have in your life works against this expansiveness, it's always going to feel like you're fighting against yourself, right? You're always feeling that unsettled energy. You're always looking at your life like, man, like you're so depressed, because that structure outside of your life doesn't support what your soul truly knows that you are. And it's almost like you're putting yourself in a box and you're suffocating and you're drowning in real life. So we want you to feel like you're free, and you can actually, in each moment, you can actually pause time. And I'm not talking about pausing the clock and it stops. No, I'm talking about stopping your mind, stopping the present, being in the present, stopping the race, the hamster wheel, and just being present. And pausing and paying attention to the stories that you're feeding momentum into. And asking yourself, like, do I want this? Does this align with what deep down I know I came here to experience and co-create? So I think I gave you a couple of examples, but this happens when I'm scrolling social media, when I'm talking to somebody, and I ask myself, like, I just made an agreement with this person about okay, what example can I give? Okay, somebody says, oh, I'm so poor, oh, I don't have anything, right? And then I validate her experience because I want to connect with her, right? It's coming from a little desire to perform for love, instead of actually saying, hey, and calling out like, hey, yeah, that's available for you, but you could also choose this. Do you really want to choose that? But instead, because of the desire to perform for love, I'll be like, yeah, me too, I'm so poor, and I validate through my own storytelling, instead of actually claiming energetic sovereignty, right? Energetic sovereignty, the first pillar we spoke about, it's about taking full responsibility for the energy you create from. So instead of being energetic sovereign, I'm just empowering myself and leaking energy through this conversation and saying, yeah, I'm poor too, but really deep down, I want to create more richness. I want to create more abundance. I want to focus more on what's working, on the abundance of what I have. I don't want to create more poverty. Yeah, I could look at my past self and look at all the times I was homeless, look at all the times I had no food to eat, look at all the times I couldn't afford school, my parents couldn't afford school, and tally all of it. And yeah, I can validate my human experience, but do I want to continue writing that story through this version of me? And the answer is no. I want to create more richness. I want to create more from the divine lens. I want to rearrange everything within me so I can receive more expansion. I can receive more of and more of my divine embodiment. Because your divine embodiment means that this version of yourself you perceive yourself to be, and you're projecting onto other people, right? There's an identity that you're always projecting onto other people. If you're not very in tune with your energetic sovereignty, right? As we're waking up, you're always going to be in different stages depending on where you are and what your purpose is. So right now you might be crawling and you're learning to walk as a normal thing, to run, right? So you can't jump from crawling to running. You gotta, you gotta crawl on your stomach and then on your knees and then, figure out stuff. And then after that, you walk a little bit and then you fall. And then over time, you walk, 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 and you walk like a duck. It's not glamorous, it's not classy, right? And then over time, you become self-conscious. You're like, oh, I walk like this. And then you start doing that. And maybe that's performing. And then you find your own signature walk. Or even you just accept the way you walk. There's no need to walk like to make other people happy. So there's stages to integrating this information that I'm sharing. So just be aware of that. So where was I going with this? Energetic sovereignty. Working in union with divinity. So yes, so when you, in the previous video, we spoke about the union of your inner masculine and inner femininity. So these are just energies that work to manifest energy through you, right? So inner femininity and inner masculinity have nothing to do with the external world. It's all about your inner world. And it's all about the things that pour into you. So instead of like with the twin flame, it's taking away power from you. You believe that one person will save you, that one person will make life better. So you're constantly living life waiting for something else outside of you to save you. And I noticed this also in the Christianity community. They're waiting for God to come, Jesus to come, because they believe this is not it. They believe earth is not it. So how does that reflect day to day? If you believe this is not it, you're not fully committed to your life, you're performing out of fear because you have to be taken, you have to make it. Otherwise you're going to be doomed in hell, you're going to be left behind. So there's performing, there's a lot of like pushing other people so that you feel superior. It's all these are, and I don't believe they're doing this consciously. Most people are not. They're doing it subconsciously. And you can notice also a lot of people throw trash outside of the window. It's a big pet peeve of mine since I was a little kid. I'm like, this is earth, this is home. But subconsciously, because you've been trained to believe that home is somewhere else other than where we are, you reject where you are. So you're always constantly waiting. You're always constantly looking elsewhere. You're not fully settled. You're not fully committing to actually making earth a better place. You're like, oh no, this is not it. We're going to be leaving, whatever. And I noticed too, in New Earth community, right? In spiritual community, there's a lot of New Earth, 144,000. It's the same shadow. It's all about feeling superior to other people. It's all about saving the world. It's all about believing your belief system is better than other people. It's all about believing New Earth is somewhere other than here. Instead of realizing that New Earth is a consciousness. It's an awareness within yourself where you're being in union with the present moment and being so precise to the point where you're choosing the timelines that you're leaning into. You're choosing the timelines you're bringing your ancestral technologies with you from. You're choosing timelines you're speaking into existence. You're choosing what you're co-creating on social media. You're choosing how you perceive yourself from the past, how you perceive yourself in the past. It's all happening now. Remember, you're a divine being having a human experience. And all these parts that are coming to you, everything you're becoming aware of in your mind's eye is being presented to you as a divine being, as a child of God, to actually use to create heaven on earth from here into here, right? So when you're rejecting and assuming that something outside of you is going to come in, this is nowhere it's at, you're just creating stuckness for yourself. You're not going anywhere. And you actually feel like you're not living in your true potential, and you become depressed and you do all these things to numb that feeling, right? Of knowing like, yeah, this is not it. And getting more material stuff, it's not going to fill that void. And I'm not saying material things are wrong, right? Material things are a manifestation of what's going on within yourself. It's just an expression of what's within, as above, so below, right? A lot of people say, oh, don't chase, and I used to think like this, right? Don't chase material stuff. Money is not all about money. It's not all about being rich and whatnot, but God owns everything. It's all about richness, where we're always seeking to God to protect us and to provide for us, because there's this knowing that we deserve all of this because we're a child of God. We're not meant to lack. We're all meant to always have. It's a divine embodiment, but we've been programmed to disconnect from this knowing, and we've been shamed out of this knowing. It's like we've been programmed to the point where when we see somebody claiming this divine embodiment, we trigger the collective shadow to mob this person who's choosing to reconnect to reconnect with this knowing, to become one with God, to leave from this gnosis, right? So instead of living in separation with God, live in union with God in each moment. And living in union with God doesn't mean it's going to be all rosy. It's going to be all nice and whatnot. You're going to become aware of the shadows that are working against you. You're going to become aware of your negative side as you're going to be aware of your positive side, because there's wholeness, right? So you want to know aspects of your character that work against your divine blueprint, your soul blueprint. You want to become aware of aspects of your positive embodiment that works against your soul blueprint and positive and divine blueprint, right? And it's all uncomfortable. And truth is not always comfortable, right? This is something we always hear all the time. It's been echoed since the beginning of time. It's not meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be transformative. So you actually separate yourself from illusion and anchor more into truth, because truth evades time. It stays forever. And illusions, they don't stay forever. And we can see it in the world right now. So you want to anchor and invest more time and energy in the truth. And notice where you project this fear of your power, this fear of living in union with God, this fear of being seen as limitless, as expansive, as a divine being, where it's coming from, and how you project it to other people. We usually project it on people who embody what we want, and we often criticize them because they embody what we truly want, but we can't yet, right? This is a shadow. I'm laughing because I used to do this, and it was very painful and embarrassing and humiliating, and I was ashamed, like, how could I do this? But this was just a remembrance of a part of myself, of this shadow aspect of myself that I wasn't aware of, that was working against me, because I was saying I wanted this one thing, but in the back of my mind, I would be pulling down these people who had this embodiment I want. So now I have greater compassion for people who go after powerful people, who go after people with more money. I'm just like, oh, I know what's going on, right? Because it's all energy. We all want to be loved by many people, right? We say we don't want, but we truly do. We want to feel safe, because love is safety, right? And there's some distortions that tell us that love is not safety, right? Depending on your upbringing and the stories you internalized when you were in your most vulnerable state. Your story around love really matters, because that's what you're creating from. The core programming of your identity, of how you're showing up in the world, of how you arrange people in your world, right? So your inner world is that part of you that comes with you no matter where you go, right? So my inner world is those parts of me, the stories I'm telling, and the people I keep in my head rent free. We always talk about oh, don't keep people in your mind rent free, but it just happens. It's just part of human nature. I'm still thinking about people, the people in my community, right? Maybe even if I don't like somebody and they wore something that was beautiful, I'm gonna keep it. Or even if I don't like them, but there's something for my soul to learn, I'm gonna keep that image of that person in my mind. It's always gonna play in my mind, right? So it's about understanding the soul of your mind. The soul of your mind, like why is your mind operating in this specific way? Why are these stories playing over and over and over again? Why do I keep focusing on this person even though I say I don't like them? Why am I obsessing over this guy? Why am I obsessing over this girl? Why am I attracted to these group of people and we just gossip but there's a part of me that knows, like, I feel shame. I feel like this is not really me, right? But I keep replaying these stories in my head. What's going on? It's about working with the core of your mind, your soul of your mind. Because your mind, just like any part of your body, it serves you. It loves you. It wants to work with you. But when you're assuming that it's working against you, the actions that you take are going to be from that assumption, are going to be from that belief that it's working against you, instead of actually surrendering and asking yourself, like, why is it responding like this? What is going on? And being curious and being detached, which is where you want to be for you to actually access divine knowledge, which is coming from the mind of your soul. The mind of your soul is divine, your divine mind, right? It's that mind that is not distorted from programming and experiences, that actually sees everything in full picture without the limited lens. So you really want to connect with these aspects of yourself in a very detached way, so that you have a sacred discernment from distortion, because everybody has distortions from their DNA, right? Your ancestors had their own limiting beliefs. Your ancestors had their own what do you call it, superstitions, right? Because you're probably experiencing well, it's inevitable because of technology and the ability to travel beyond that safety net. We are expanding beyond what our ancestors could, but we are capable because our ancestors are. They did the trial and error for us to come forward like this. And this is so important for you to access your ancestral technology. It's not making your ancestors wrong. It's not like a lot of religions demonize ancestors. And I'm like, why is that? That's very interesting. Why do we reject our DNA? Why do we reject our body? Because that's where the power is stored, honey. That nucleus, that's where your power is. That's where your full potential is locked in. And when you reject it, you can't access it, right? And you can't access your divinity because your divinity uses your DNA. And what does your DNA represent? Right? So you want to ask the right questions. You want to access your critical thinking and really think, like, why won't they let me reconnect to my ancestors? My ancestors moved through so many, moved through a lot of negatives so that I can embody this much positive, right? They're refined and I'm the most updated version of them. So if you're not working with them, then you're rejecting this portal, this expression that has been refined through time. And I'm not here to force you to believe something that you don't want to believe. I'm just here to represent facts. Even fish, even animals, they have ancestors that refined them to be who they are, right? And when you're living against this alignment and union with where you came from, life is always going to be struggle. You're going to create more dis-ease because you're not living in truth with who you are and what you are. I was going somewhere with this. Yes, distortions. So when you're not aware of your own ancestral distortions, right? This is why you're here, because I'm sharing the gems, the gold from my own ancestral technology. And I'm going to show you how to access the gold in your own ancestral technology, how to do that. But this is the foundational work. It's not going to work until you do all this work I've been sharing in the past series and on this channel, because it has to come from a place of integrity. If you don't do it this way, it's going to work against you. And this is why I called it the Soul System Structure series, because there's a structure, there's a divine order how to do this. It's not about becoming more famous. It's not about being perceived a certain way. It's not about compensating for those emotional void that you're feeling, that you want the external world to mirror back. It's about actually coming within yourself, coming in union with yourself, and reparenting yourself to do your inner masculine and inner femininity, aligning yourself with that, and activating your inner parents, right? Everybody should do this, even your parents, even your grandparents, right? This is how we heal our ancestry and actually access this gold. I just told you. But so you want to surrender to who you're being as a human being and pay attention to your mind, the soul of your mind, the essence of your mind. What's going on? What's the frequency? How do I feed into my mind? Where do I feed into my mind? Does it feel good to my body? Why doesn't it feel good? Right? And then now you're paying attention to the right information. It's not just about feeding. It's not about just doing. It's about pausing, right? Connecting to your inner femininity, pausing, receiving your true essence, where you truly are, even if it's not perfect. Receiving all the information that's coming in. Noticing where you're pushing back. Noticing where you're projecting onto other people, right? This is all from unconditional love. Noticing where you're cringing. Noticing where you're restricting and constricting, right? Oh, that's true love. You're witnessing all these parts of yourself. That observation is not conditional. This is actually God actually witnessing you, witnessing yourself. So with no judgment, with no criticism, with not even if you notice the shame and judgment, you're not shaming and judging the shame and judgment. You know what I mean? You're just receiving yourself. And from there, from that informed state of being, you're now taking action to support this true essence, your most authentic self. But the action has to be in alignment with unconditional love for self, with unconditional love for all parts of you from the past, right? Because this is how you marry your human with God. You start living in union with God. It's when you create a safe space for your human to be seen and witnessed without an external audience, without worrying about other people's opinions. Because that's how you actually heal and raise your frequency to that of your divine mind, right? So, and then from here you're able to see distortion so easily. You're able to protect your time and your energy from creating timelines that are based on illusions and distortions. And right now in the world, there's so much distrust and in authorities, there's so much distrust in other people, because we've been co-creating from these distortions and from trauma and from needing to compensate these unmet childhood needs. But when you go first and you raise your frequency and you give yourself everything that you need through your inner masculine and inner femininity, and you become whole, you accept your wholeness, right? Because you've come in full union with yourself to the point where you're not seeking any relationship outside of yourself to feel these unmet childhood needs. It becomes easier in real time to see through your mind's eye how the external reality is trying to use your mind to convince you that where you are is wrong. How all these posts on social media and through other people and maybe relationships you're seeking through your social media influencers and gurus actually a projection of your childhood needs. You start to see the patterns and where the patterns are coming from. Some of them they've been passed down from your ancestors. Some of them have been programmed through your own perceived reality based on your programming that you were born into. Some of it has been just assumption based on one negative experience or maybe two, because I mean you keep attracting what you are and you perceive through yourself through what do they call it, something bias. Something bias, I forgot, it's a scientific term, where you keep seeing something that validates what you're assuming. So it's about coming back to that level of awareness where you're just accepting truth without making you wrong. And even if you're wrong and you're afraid of being wrong, really being honest with yourself, like, what am I afraid will happen if I'm wrong? It doesn't make you less worthy, it doesn't make you less important, it doesn't make you less lovable, but you believe so because it's based on other people's standards of life, other people's value systems. But this is not about other people. This inner union is about you. It's about coming in full integration with your wholeness, retrieving all these aspects of your soul, of your spirit, of your human back into the present body, back into the present mind, right? And doing this work as a lifestyle, because once you start doing this as a lifestyle, you are telling the divine, you're telling the universe that you're actually serious about this. You're working in union, in full integrity with your true essence. And that's when this information, intelligence that I'm channeling through right now becomes accessible to you too, because you are living from integrity. You're living from, not from trying to be better than other people, trying to climb other people so you can become better and just take from other people for your own needs, right? Colonization or all that stuff. It's all distortion. It's all coming from this inferiority complex. No, we're doing it from wholeness, from the awareness of like, oh, I don't need to create from distortion. Yes, these distortions are available for me. I can see it. And this is how I created my past life from. But I've now transcended those patterns. I now know better. I'm wiser. And I'm choosing to live my life like this. Even your voice changes. Even the quality and caliber of people you're attracted to on the internet spaces that you associate yourself with, it changes because you have changed your frequency. And when you change your frequency and what you do in your private mind proves that you're actually not living to co-create more distortions. You are here to create truth and to anchor in this frequency for everybody without any hierarchies, without needing to feel better than other people and without needing to compare yourself to other people. So if you feel better about yourself without needing to compensate what's unmet within yourself, that is available to be met by you, your most authentic self, the present self, right? When you start living from that integrity, you start just having downloads and things you're like, how do I know this? But you know, your whole body knows, but you have no proof, but you know, right? That's the divine mind. The divine mind has no need to prove itself. There's no need to explain anything. There's just being. There's that easiness because the divine is always creating, right? And this is the void. When you are in their known, it's because we are accessing this void where there's infinite potential. You can create anything. You can make anything possible, right? And this is why we're so fascinated with magic, because you're like, how did you do that, right? But when you are sitting on God's lap and you're living from God's lap, you just experience things that just don't make sense. You're like, huh? And even when you try to explain it, you sound crazy. And I feel God does that to ensure that you keep some things sacred. Some things that are sacred, right? There's that reverence, that, oh, like, oh my gosh, right? And when you're trying to explain it through the lens of the human, you kind of like bring it down a little bit. You know what I mean? That that frequency. But some things are just like, man, like I have no words. I'm just like, wow, right? So there's that easiness. So when you're trying to explain yourself and explain things that you know and you're trying to prove to other people, it's not really about being in union with God. It's about your human ego, right? It's not about actually living in tandem with God, living in tandem with your divine blueprint. Because living in union with your divinity is there's just easiness. There's no needing to prove other people. Other people remember through your embodiment. There's no talking needed. There's just living from that frequency of your divinity. So even if other people say you're delusional and you're crazy, yada, you're like, right, whatever. But you sleep well at night because you spoke what you want, what wanted to come through you. And even if it turns out to be wrong, there was a lesson for you, there was wisdom for you. So it's about living courageously. And it's not about other people. It's about allowing the truth to always be mirrored back to you. Because it was never about your ego. It's not about your ego. It's about your expansion. It's about your highest, fullest potential being expressed through you. And everything that's preventing you from embodying that, being expelled, being burnt through you. So when you feel that fire, right? That fire of truth that feels so uncomfortable, that ego, especially when you're having an ego death, that's transformation. The sacred fire, I call it sacred fire. And if you're in the sovereign mind activation, you know what I'm talking about. It's about surrendering to that fire instead of resisting it and trying to compensate for it and feeling cringy and feeling embarrassed and replaying all these reasons why you're awful, why you'll never come back from this. No, that's your human. Yes, you want to create a safe space for that human experience and not bypass it. But it's about now creating momentum towards your divine embodiment, integrating that into your divine embodiment and saying, I love you unconditionally. This doesn't mean we're less than. It just means that we burnt through our embodiment distortions and we're creating space for truth to anchor in, to be expressed through us, for us to be seen in our humanness and our divinity, in that duality. So in the world you see, when people put, for example, celebrities on a pedestal, they expect them to be a certain way. People are projecting their version of perfection, that version of them. They're not really wanting the true version of them, usually, right? People project these idea of who they want them to be, and when they don't, they attack them. They're like, oh, see, they're not perfect, look at them, and they judge them from that lens, to disempower them and to remove them from the projected ideal of this messiah, of this savior, of this goddess, right? But they're not aware of their own distortions, that they were creating this idea of their own self onto this person, instead of actually living life and doing the inner work to become in alignment with the higher self and live from that higher self. They're projecting it onto this person. So pay attention to how you do that. Again, we're not doing it from self-judgment. I did this mistake for such a long time, and it created a lot of density that was unnecessary, and it just poisoned my frequency. I want you to catch up to your clean frequency as fast as you can, because that's when you can actually start working with your ancestral technology and anchor new earth and anchor this new reality that we all know we came here to birth through our voice, through our gifts, through our knowingness. And it's so imperative that you actually become energetic sovereign, and you actually become in union with all that you are before you anchor this. So let me know if you have any questions. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to add. Oh yeah, we're going to talk more about performing power and actually embodying power, because there's a lot of that in the world. So as you're anchoring this information, you're going to start noticing your frequency, of course, is going to naturally upgrade, right? Because you are becoming aware of your shadows, and you're working with your wholeness, and you're going to become more aware of people who don't embody that wholeness and manipulate you to become more fragmented so they can siphon your energy. You're going to become more aware of it, especially in this public arena. I'm going to say the words because I don't want to be flagged. This is a public video on YouTube, and I want this information to reach as many leaders as much as possible, so that you can support your community, your network, from truth, from embodied truth. And even if they come and disempower you, you can just see them for what they're doing, and you won't feel like a victim to their tools and to their distortions. You'll be able to actually protect yourself, your heart, and still stay open, right? Because for you to embody your power, you want to stay open. You want to keep an open heart, open mind, because this is how the downloads come. This is where the awareness of like comes in. But you want to make sure that you're not opening yourself to people who are not living from this truth and embodiment. You can always feel it, right? You can feel it when someone is not living from truth. You can just like, yeah, I don't know about this, right? But we often gaslight ourselves out of it, because I mean, we've been taught and conditioned to gaslight our own intuition. So this is about deconditioning your programming, so you make your intuition your North Star. You live from your intuition. This is how our ancestors used to do it, but because of collective greed and this desire to create hierarchies and siphon people's energy so they can make themselves wealthy and more comfortable at the expense of other people's ignorance, we've been disconnected from our bodies, from our gnosis, from our power. So embodied power is actually facing all your positive and your negative, not making it wrong, but using it as an empowered opportunity to become even better. Because from seeing your weaknesses, you can actually create structures in your world to support your progression into an embodiment that doesn't make the weakness wrong, but uses the weakness as an opportunity to open up to people who are stronger in those areas. Not because you're less than, not because other people are better than you, but it's an opportunity. I believe it's like divine intelligence that allows us to work together. So New Earth is not going to come here just by yourself, by your own intelligence, by your own greatness, right? It's not about isolating yourself. It's about working. It's about taking a pause away from the external world and really paying attention to what your soul is saying, so that you can actually know what is in alignment with your higher self and what isn't, and actually rearrange things within yourself to create in alignment with your ancestral technologies, to work in alignment with your divine blueprint, your soul blueprint, and to know who's for you, right? Who's in alignment with what you came here to create, who has information for you, who has key codes for you, right? We're working all together. And this information, I'm accessing it and structuring it from my ancestral technology, right? And you find value in this. This is why you're watching this video. And you also have, your ancestral technology has great value for the people who want this information to transcend the patterns they have, to integrate the information they've been passed down, and stuff like that. So I hope this video was helpful. Yeah, and if this information resonates, come over into Mental Alchemy Academy. I'll leave the currently enrolling link below. Our temples are open, and only if your soul says yes, because resonance matters. This is how actually you start creating magic. It's when there's resonance, not your ego resonance, your soul resonance. So more information will be below how you can work with me right now. Otherwise, see you on the other side.